Okay, we'll start. Om. 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 Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu Mavit Vishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. So who wants to start?
ॐ पार्थाय प्रतिबोधितां भगवदा नारायणेन स्वयं व्यासेन कृतितां पुराणमुनिना मध्ये महाभारतम् अद्वैतामृतवर्षिणीं भगवतीम् अष्टादशाध्यायिनीम् अम्ब त्वामनुसन्तदामि भगवद्गीते भवद्वेक्षिणीम् नमोऽस्तु ते व्यास विशाल बुद्धे पुल्लारविन्दाय तपत्रनेत्र येन त्वया भारत तैलपूर्णः प्रज्वालितो ज्ञानमयः प्रतीभः
प्रपन्नपारिजाताय स्तोत्रवेत्रैकपाणये ज्ञानमुद्राय कृष्णाय मृदुदे नमः। सर्वोपनिषदो गावो दोग्धा गोपालन् अनन्तन पार्थो वत्स सुधीर्भोक्ता दुग्धं गीतामृतं महत्. Oh, sorry, I thought we had to chant the whole Gita Dhyanam. Sorry.
No problem, no problem.
वसुदेवसुतं देवं कंसचाणूरमर्दनं देवकी परमानन्दं कृष्णं वन्दे जगद्गुरुम् भीष्मद्रोणदटा जयद्रजदला कान्तारलीलोद्भदा शल्याकृहागवती कृपेण वह्निकर्णेन वेलाकुला अश्वत्थामविकर्णघोरमकरा दुर्योधनावर्तिनी चोटीन खलु पाण्डवैर्गणनति कैवर्तककेशवा.
Suvarna, you want to try?
Parashreya.
No, Parashadya
Shreya
Vachasa.
I'll
No
skip.
problem. No problem. Anybody else?
पाराशर्यस्य सरोजममलं गीधार्थगन्धोत्कडं ज्ञानाख्यानककेशरं हरिकथा सम्बोधनाबोधितं लोके सज्जन षट्पदैरहरः पेपीयमानं मुदा भूयाद् भारत पङ्कजं कलिमलत् प्रध्वंसिन श्रेयसे मूकं करोति वाचालं पङ्गुं लङ्घयते गिरिं यत्कृपादमहं वन्दे परमानन्दमाधवम् यं ब्रह्मा वरुणेन्द्र रुद्रमरुतः स्तुन्वन्ति दिव्यैः स्तवैः वेदैः साङ्ख्यपदक्रमोपनिषदैः गायन्ति यं सामका ध्यानावस्थिततत्कदेन मनसा पश्यन्ति यं योगिनः यस्यान्तं न विदुः शुराशुरगणाः देवाय तस्मै नमः। सर्वधर्मां प्रतिज्ञ मामेकं शरणं व्रज अहं त्वां सर्वपापेभ्यः मोक्षयिष्यामि मा शुचः.
Very good. Thank you. Thank you very much. Now we'll move on to the 13th chapter. To Okay, so we are beginning with the 13th chapter today. We are entering into the last part of Bhagavad Gita when we think about parts, as in three parts of Bhagavad Gita. We finished with the first two parts up to 12th chapter last week, and now we are entering into the 13th chapter, which is the first of the six chapters of the last part of Bhagavad Gita. And this is where we are now. So, again, reflections. I want to start off with starting us asking ourselves, we all are blessed, I would say, to have this opportunity to study Bhagavad Gita. And the question always comes is, you know, uh, before Bhagavad Gita came into our life, um, how are we leading our life? Or even if you want to think about how are we leading our life today? What is really important for us? And how is a general life pattern? Any thoughts on this?
Hariom, before Bhagavad Gita, I think it would be, we say, right, our mom and our dad, they are our first gurus. So we'll be going with whatever they have taught us, and that's how it's going to be. So whatever issues we have in life, we are going to be kind of solving the same way or working out how, it's like your parents' voices you're hearing in your head, trying to, figure out how to solve that. But as we enter into Bhagavad Gita, along with the parents' voice, you're starting to actually hear the Lord's voice too. Maybe it is through the parents' voice, I don't know, but you start to hear, okay, there is also, you have to think more than this, there is more than what you have been taught. So that is definitely like, it's just not you, there's more than you, there's a lot more than you that's out there. So you have to think about thinking outside of the box, forcing yourself to think more than about you. That is something that I definitely, it was like, it's like an eye opener for me. That is what I would,
So you're
my
already
experience.
touching upon where Bhagavad Gita has already led you to, which is great. But I'm looking at, if we didn't really have the Shastras in our lives, how do we really lead our life? Like a normal person in the world. What do you think? Generally, if we really didn't have this manual of life called Bhagavad Gita, I'm specifically not touching about what Bhagavad Gita tells us, but imagine if I didn't have a manual. Imagine if I didn't come with a manual. You know, what kind of experiences do we go through in life? What matters to me the most? If I did not have anything in life at all, I see and I experience, right? So, in that kind of a world, because Bhagavad Gita and all our spiritual texts, they really go into very subtle aspects which are not very apparent when we look at something, right? When we look at it, when I look at the world, do I really see Ishvara in the form of the world? Not really, right? I basically see the stores, I see the malls, I see my workplaces, I see my family, of course, right? So that's what I see today, right? So any thoughts on those lines?
I actually, I don't have a lot of thoughts on those, but I have different questions now that you've raised this question. I have other questions now. Uh, if we did not have anything, which means that we are not following any religion, there's no Hinduism, there's no Christianity, there's no Buddhism, there's no Jainism, we are not following any real religion. So we cannot even say we are animals, because animals also follow their nature, whatever their cycle is, their lifespan is, and the life cycle is. We know from all the discoveries that the scientists have made, the science has made about the animal kingdom. We know that they also follow a
A
systematic, they
certain
have a
pattern.
nature, so there's something governing them. So we cannot at that point say that we are the animals, because there is a nature, there's something governing them. So where would we actually fall? Then it would be like, we would be, I think we would be whatever nature we have at that moment of time, we would follow that. Now what it is pure speculation, I guess.
No, but you're right. I mean, you're right. I mean, um, if we did not have any religion at all, we would follow the nature and nurture, right? Nature and nature, but nurture. The only difference between us and animals would be is animals are going through also the same experiences. It's not as if animals don't feel pain, and it's not as if animals don't feel love. And it's not as if animals don't feel an attraction to another animal. I'm just looking at all the dogs. Nowadays, there's a proliferation of dogs on the street, proliferation of cats on the street. And when I look at them, cats are attracted to each other. So they do go through certain emotions. But would one cat ask the other cat, guess what? Maybe they do to some extent go through even amount to a little bit of dislike, right? Maybe they like one cat over another cat, or even among dogs, or maybe a cat may say, no, I don't like you, dog. I'm just going through very basic emotions here. That, but would a cat or a dog ponder upon, oh, you know what, wait a minute, I don't like you because, that word because, I don't like you because you are so and so and so. Even to that level, maybe an animal may not be able to think. But we, on the other hand, may say, I do not like you because you are not a certain color, or you are not a certain jati, or you are not because you eat different food. So in India, there's lot of that going on, right? I mean, vegetarian versus non-vegetarian food or whatever. I don't like you because you eat certain kind of food. I don't like you because you live in a certain locality. That kind of thing would animals go through. So that, in some sense, is the difference between us and animals. But anyway, that is not what I want to really go through in this flow here. Is, do we really pause to think how my life is going? You know, what are the kind of experiences am I going through? And also, this aspect is, am I happy as I'm going through all these experiences? What kind of an emotion am I going through? Do I really know what the meaning of happiness is? You know, is happiness really something when I get something, I'm happy, and when I don't get something, I'm unhappy? Or do I recognize happiness as an emotion which, no matter whether I got something or I did not get something, I'm still happy, which I define now as being a different state of mind or balanced? So, so these are kind of, the basic fundamental questions, which if I'm not a dog or a cat, I might still ask myself, if I sit and ponder upon it. Although I have to be honest, I don't think we even sit and ponder. We don't even have time to sit and ponder, because the minute I sit and I say that I'm going to, take some time out and reflect, then what happens is the phone, which is there next to me, is screaming for my attention. So my life today has become so fragmented. My life has become in such a way that I'm drawn to something or the other, and I'm unable to even sit and think. You know, maybe dogs and cats have a lot more time that way to sit and think because they're not bombarded by all these gadgets, they're not bombarded by what is happening in the world. In that sense, they are in a much superior state. We, on the other hand, are bombarded with so many things. I don't even have time to think whether I'm happy or unhappy, or I don't even have time to think whether, what am I going through? Am I really all these objects and emotions and objects and situations and people and time and everything? Are they really influencing my life? Am I becoming dependent on them? As one beautiful article that I read just recently is, who is in your thoughts? And uh, it depends upon how many things I'm allowing into my mind and allowing that to influence me is how I'm leading my life today. So that is why the question I am asking myself is, how are we leading our lives? What kind of experiences am I going through? Do we have a proper definition for happiness? And coming, if I can even sit down and think through a lot of these things, if I can even take some time out, shut myself for 1 week, go to one of these cabins up in the north or whatever, and don't have my device at all with me, my phone, what do I do? Would it lead me to think about myself? You know, will I get to that state? Will I get to really, who am I? Am I this Suvarna? Am I this Sunitha? Am I this mother? Am I this wife? Am I this daughter? Can I go beyond that? Can I actually go beyond that aspect of, okay, I may not think I'm all these roles, but can I even think about this fact that I'm this physical body, mind, intellect, which is thinking about beyond what a dog and a cat can? Can I get to that level and stay at that level without associating myself with all these roles that I'm playing? Can I even do that part of it? And can I just stay there for some time? And then from there on, can I start even think beyond my body, beyond my mind, beyond my intellect? Can I really get to the state of, who do I really think I am? I'm putting forth all these really powerful questions again and again, and especially in the start of this next 6 chapters, which is really going to solidify a lot of learnings for us. So these are the most important questions that we really need to ponder upon, think about, even as we are completing to the last, many of us, I'm saying, who are in this particular group of Bhagavad Gita here, we are coming to the last third of our chapter of our lives, you know, and we owe ourselves, we have to gift ourselves the time to think and ponder upon all these questions. Because, now that we're in the last third of our lives, we do not know when, we are going to exit the world. And before we exit the world, we have to take some time off to think on all these questions. Who do I really think I am? Because that's where, going back to what Suvarna started with initially, to say that, if I did not have religion in my life, if I did not have the philosophy in my life, if I did not have the most powerful texts, even among all the philosophies in the world, the philosophy that we are studying through Bhagavad Gita is the most subtlest, most deepest. That kind of a philosophy, how is it resonating with my life? Am I really giving myself that time to reflect upon? So you will see that this next 6 chapters of Bhagavad Gita is going to take us to that deep question. And that deep question is very much needed, not only for people like us who are going to exit out of this physical body at some point, but it is also very, very important because that is the one and only solution for pretty much all the problems that we're going through in our lives. Because if I truly understand the last question that I've written there, who do I think I am? If I truly understand my nature, then I will understand that all this happiness and sorrow that I'm going through are either tied to the roles that I'm playing, or it is tied to the equipment itself through which I'm transacting the world. So it's only there that all these problems are. Do you agree? That's all there is. It's only in the koshas. When I say koshas, all these 5 layers, or it is in all the roles I played. The minute I think I'm the mother, I worry about my daughter. I worry about, all this. The minute I think I'm my daughter, the minute I think I'm the mother, then the minute I think I'm the daughter, I worry about my parents and everyone. The minute I think about the fact that I'm a particular worker, I worry about the projects and I worry about my job and I worry about my promotion. I worry about all my coworkers, who they are, what they're thinking. So I need to start to detach myself from all these roles I'm playing and the things and my physical equipment, my body, my mind, which is driving everything, and my intellect, which is being influenced by all the experiences that I have put into my mind. So that's what this whole thing is all about. So this is very powerful, as some things that you can also just think about each of these questions whenever you have time, by keeping the phone far out and taking the time to even write for each one of us, a journal to write for each one of these questions and see what I'm going through. And maybe, as Meena does it so beautifully, she writes down everything and she'll go back after 2 years and refer to it and then see, what did I write at that time. These are things
Hari
that is great.
Om.
Yes, Meena, please.
So when I look into, 100% what you said is absolutely correct. But when you look into all these questions, for example, the third question, it says, "Are we happy?" Yes, we are happy, because Krishna says, "Whatever you're going to get, you'll get it. Whatever you are not going to get, even if you beg for it, you're not getting it." So after coming to 12th chapter, that's what you asked. What did you learn in your life? Yes, first of all, bhakti. Normally we used to go to the temple and then see all the deities and come back, but now we know what exactly bhakti is. How do you put in your mind bhakti is number one. Number two, you're saying, are we happy? Yes, because Lord Krishna is giving 100% assurance, 200% assurance. You catch hold of his lotus feet, he's going to take you, he's going to take care of you. Then why are you not happy?
Yes,
So that's
right.
number one. And then who do you think I am? I'm nothing. I'm totally nothing. And then what do you think about yourself? Everything. We have Lord Krishna in ourselves. So we are
Yeah.
nothing. We are nothing at all. So we don't have to think about what you are. Maybe you're
Mhm.
holding a big position, or you're having a big house, a brand luxury car and all that. But that's all not, It's not going to come with you for sure.
Mm-hmm.
And yes, you said if all of us, most of us are in the third part of our life. Yes, we don't know. Some may be tomorrow, some may be after 5 years, some may be after 10 years. That's about it. So having come to the third stage of the life, still, if, as Lord Krishna says, give everything, have detached attachment. It doesn't mean that you don't have to love anybody, you don't have to love anything, but it should be detached. So that's what I learned up to this 12th chapter. 100%
Yeah,
sure.
wonderful.
There is a lot
Fantastic.
of difference. There is a lot of difference from day one until today. 100% sure.
Beautiful, Meena. Thank you for sticking through all this and
Thank you.
being able to share your reflection on this.
And it is
Because this,
all by your thing, because you said, yes,
no,
I
no,
think
no, it is
even
all
now,
gurus. It is all the
even
gurus.
even now, these 5 points I have noted down. So I'll keep working on it. As you said, whenever I get time, I'll put my phones away, my computer, office computer, everything away. If you keep thinking about it, definitely you'll get more good and quality answers. And what we have to do, at least if we live all these years, at least from now on, what we have to
Right.
concentrate. So thank you so much for these questions. I've noted them already.
Thank you, Meena.
Mhm.
Very, very nice that you could share the same three questions, number 3, number 4, and number 5, like you defined it. When you write your answers today for it, and even after we go through the 13th chapter, maybe if you can go back and again answer the same, maybe I should also remember to put the same questions after the end of 13th chapter. It would be good because you will see the same question, you will now answer it in a little more subtler way. For example, when we said, are we happy? Yes, we are happy, but the bigger question is, am I happy every moment of my life? Yes, if I have Krishna next to me, I will say, yes, I'm happy because I know Krishna is taking care of me. I'm only an instrument. But even with that, can I 100% say that? If I can truly say that, then yes, I have totally understood who I am, what is, my relation to Krishna, and how Krishna is guiding me completely, and Krishna is in me. I'm in Krishna, all this becomes extremely apparent, which is where the last second part of the chapter was, the second part of Bhagavad Gita, where in ninth chapter, I'm in them, they are in me, that those kind of things will immediately kick in. Thank you again for sharing. Anybody else want to
Thank you,
share
Hari
anything?
Om.
Hari Om. Okay, so now we are entering into the third chapter, which is Trayodasho Dhyayaha. And what is the thing about it is Kshetra, Kshetragnya. Those are the two words. Kshetra, which is the field. And typically, when we think about a field, we automatically think about a farmer, right? A farmer and his farm. So here, it's not as if we're going to really talk about a story about a farm and a farmer and all that. But you will see these words are very powerful, and we might be spending 1 or 2 lectures on just the first 2 shlokas, trying to understand the kshetra and kshetragnya. So kshetragnya is the knower. Again, it's a yoga, kshetra, kshetragnya, vibhaga yoga, yoga of the field and its knower. Okay, so that is what it is. This chapter is going to be all about. So let us kind of see, how far have we come along. So let us kind of, take a stock, if you will, of everything that we have learned in the Bhagavad Gita without going too much into details. But, like for example, in the first 6 chapters, we started with the plight of Arjuna. You know, we looked at, how Arjuna, who was such a great warrior, he gets totally stumped. He is totally loses himself, you can say that. And therefore, Krishna's job at that moment in time was to first bring Arjuna back to where he was, to literally to start, take him out of that complete misery and at least tell him who he is really. So the first 6 chapters was focused really on revealing for Arjuna what his true nature is. It's not, I mean, first of all, he had to get him completely out of his misery, which, as I mentioned earlier, the misery or happiness lies only in the koshas. No, I'm sorry, not in the koshas, in the roads. So here, Arjuna playing the role of a warrior was going through so much amount of this grief. So Krishna had to first focus on him, telling him that he is not the warrior. So Krishna was focused on revealing to him that, hey, you are Arjuna. And what are you as Arjuna? You have to now do your dharma of as a warrior. So in the first chapter, Arjuna was really caught in this web of grief and delusion. So he considered himself, these roles that, he is a father, he's a cousin, he's a student of Bhishma, you know. So then Krishna reveals to Arjuna that his nature is really not even that physical body that through which he's transcending, but he's actually even beyond that. He is actually that infinite, eternal essence. So he guides Arjuna one step at a time to make him understand this. He really brings his understanding first by, of course, telling him that he's his warrior, what is his duty, what is his dharma. And when we talk about what is dharma, the aspect of karma came about. So we understood what is karma yoga. And then from karma yoga, then slowly we got into what we call this as in the fourth chapter, the karma sannyasa yoga, about how ultimately whatever we do, we have to do it in the form of, as Meena rightly put it, in the form of detachment. So that is what karma sannyasa yoga is. And finally, by the sixth chapter, we understood what is dhyana yoga, meditation, yoga of meditation, because it's only through meditation or only the seat of meditation for people like all of us, where we can at least come in touch with our true nature. So it's only in meditation that I can actually experience this Sunitha that I think about, this Sunitha ego, this ego, which I call as Sunitha, is really not that this, but is actually a witness of my body, mind, intellect. It's not that I am the body, mind, intellect, but I am witnessing my body, mind, intellect. So that Sakshi Bhava, if you will, so that is what we ended up with the first 6 chapters. Then the question is, if I leave it just at that point, I will think that, I am this Sakshi of my physical body, my physical mind, and my physical intellect. So, what good is that? At the end of the day, I am actually living in this world with many such, quote unquote, I'm just using this for the sake of our discussion today. I'm living with many other Sakshi Bhavas, which is actually not true. At the end of the day, we'll come to know that there is only one Sakshi, but I think that I'm living with many such individuals, right? So, therefore, Krishna had to come and say that, what is my relation of me with the world? Jiva Jagat. So, what is my relation with Jagat? And that's where this concept of God or Ishvara is brought in. So, Krishna then focuses on revealing the true nature of the world in which we live in. So, it is almost like an expansion of me as this individual consciousness or Sakshi with this body, mind, and intellect. Now, my expansion into this whole world. So I am not just this Sakshi living in this physical body, but I am that Sakshi living in every physical body, mind, intellect. So normally, when the first question, that's why I put it up there, how are we leading in this world? We lead in this world today Like, we think that, okay, I, Sunita, am interacting with this physical body, physical thing called this book. And I am reading the book. So this book is different from me. That is how we think about this. So and I think that I'm reading something else, and therefore this individuality in me is always through, in and through every experience that I'm going through. This is how I'm leading my world. So we think of the world as nothing but matter in different forms, correct? So therefore, Krishna now, has to come and he has to reveal to Arjuna that this world is really not just this inert physical matter, like I showed you with this book here, but it is also made of something else. And that is this consciousness principle. Okay. So Sat, Chit, Ananda, that aspect of it. Actually, I don't think we have gone deep into what Sat Chit Ananda is, which is what this 13th chapter on we will get into quite a bit. But it is not just Sat alone, which is what the physical body, with the physical part of the book reveals here. But there is something called Chit, or the consciousness principle. So Krishna reveals that the body, this whole world is comprised not only of matter, but also of this life-giving consciousness. I know English words are very limiting. The minute I say life-giving consciousness, I immediately associate this with, oh, if I'm living, then that is life, right? And giving, so consciousness is only in the things that are living, that is breathing. So, what are living matter? Immediately we try to get into this aspect of, oh, the tree is living matter, the animal is living matter, the human being is living matter. So, that is how we limit our minds. But in reality, it's much, much more than that. So, this is where, from the 7th chapter onwards, you see that, Krishna starts to reveal that this world in which I'm living in has got two aspects. One is the lower aspect, and the other one is the higher aspect of, and so we call this of Prakriti. And then he reveals that this Prakriti, which is this entire world, is nothing but the power of Ishvara. And therefore, Ishvara is there in all, and everything is in Ishvara. So, this whole world that I see is the lower aspect of Ishvara. And in this aspect, he is really the, we would call this as the, because we look at everything around me as materials. So, immediately, Ishvara is the material cause. And the classic example which is given in Vedanta is about, a pottery. Pottery which has the material, which the clay, and then we have the maker, who makes the pot. So here he is the material cause for all this raw matter. In Vedanta, of course, those days life was simple. Everything was, in relation to pots and pans, and which is made of mud. But now think about everything else, including our computers and all that. So Ishvara is the material cause of the raw matter, as well as we call this as an efficient cause. Efficient cause indicating that he is also the maker. Because if he didn't put his mind and thought and everything into it, the pot would not have been there. It would have been just a lump of clay. But Ishvara takes the lump of clay, makes that into a small pot, big pot, square pot, round pot, all these things. And that is because he's exhibiting the efficiency, or the intelligence, if you will. Okay, so that is the efficient cause or intelligence that has really created the entire universe. So the true world nature of the world is of Ishvara, who is the Adhisthana. We call this as a substratum. Everything I see in this world, which is material, no matter what it is the substratum. So that is what from seventh chapter on, all the way to seventh, the 10th, of course, talks about the glory. Then the 11th chapter, of course, is all about the Vishwarupa, expands from the smaller glories, which 10th chapter, like when I say smaller glories, even Grand Canyon or Niagara Falls, which are so huge, which are nothing but the vibhutis of the Lord, are small compared to the entire universe, which is the Vishwa Rupa. So that is what was revealed in the 12th and the 11th chapter, right? So now, having gone through almost 12 chapters, and of course, 12th chapter was very beautiful because it really talks about the gunas and everything which is needed for us to purify our mind so that we can actually be able to even grasp that Vishwarupa. So, having revealed all this, one would say, why do I really need another 6 chapters? Isn't this over? The story is over now, isn't it? Here I am as an individual, and then I have this entire world in which I'm transacting. It should be over, right? So, we do need the 6 chapters because our mind, okay, our inner mind, if you will, which is a mind and intellect and etc., they still have a lot of like sort of vasanas, vasanas, or you might say as our stock of unfulfilled desires, and that tends to sway our mind or agitate our mind, which we call this as vikshepa. Okay, vikshepa is the tendency of the mind to go from one thought to another, which is directed again by my own vasanas. For example, I get up in the morning. If I'm always a coffee drinker, and if I'm always, I have this particular seeds that I buy from Costco, not Costco, Kroger or Myers or whatever, that is fine. But if I also like tea, and if I once in a while, if I come to India and somebody tells me about some other coffee brand, so you see how Vikshepa is the ability of the mind to keep jumping from one thing to another. Now, that is one part of it. And the second thing is avarana. Okay, so these are technical terms, but these are very important things. Avarana is the veiling or covering that hides the understanding of truly who I am. So for example, even though I'm talking about karma yoga in the first 6 chapters, and karma yoga, is helping me to really fulfill my dharma and all that, but my old desires or the way I would have transacted some things comes into play and pollutes my mind to do something else. So it kind of prevents me from truly understanding who I am, even though I would have gone through the dhyana yoga part of it and everything. So, karma yoga, as much as it helps to remove all these defects by extinguishing the six selfish desires, bhakti yoga is necessary, which helps to remove this defect of vikshepa yoga. Vikshepa, not yoga, sorry, vikshepa, which is a defect, right? Through in and through everything that I'm doing, that I'm able to still see Ishvara. So the point is, even in spite of all this bhakti yoga, we will never be able to completely understand what moksha is. Now, moksha is really to understand that me as a jiva is no different than this entire world. I mean, we need to come back to this aspect of what we called as am I really happy all the time? Okay. So the point about it is, I can never be happy 100% of the time unless I truly recognize that in this world, there is nothing that can give me sorrow. Okay. Why can nothing give me sorrow? Because I am everywhere. I am the one who's everywhere, and I am the same person who can only be capable of giving sorrow to myself. So if I know that, then I understand that this Vikshepa and Avarana are nothing but all these small impurities which are doing this. Only I can get rid of it. So I need to understand that I am this individual jiva is that same jiva which is expanded into this entire world. I am there in everything. I am in my enemies. I am in my friends. I am in my family. I am everywhere. When I recognize I myself am everywhere, who is giving sorrow to whom? Right? When that realization strikes me, and I totally understand, that is really what moksha is all about. That is self-realization. So this is why we need this next 6 chapters of Bhagavad Gita to go through it. So we started with Tvam, right? The first, if you all remember, this Mahavakya, Tat Tvam Asi, correct? So the 6 chapters is basically removing that avarna, the Tattvamasi, which means you are that. The first 6 chapters reveals the nature of Tvam, which means you or me as the Sakshi or witness to, and the next 6 chapters then is all about Tat, which is that Ishvara, or as I mentioned earlier, the substratum or the foundation. And ultimately, the last 6 chapters reveals basically that the identity of Tat and Tvam. The last 6 chapters reveals the identity of really equality. Tvam is no different than Tat. Tat is no different than Tvam. And Tat is equal to Tvam, or Tvam is equal to Tat. So that is why we need the connection which needs to be established between Tvam and Tat. So that is why we have this next 6 chapters, which is, you'll find sometimes it might be a little difficult to really keep on, understanding this aspect. It's a little more deeper, and that part of it. So Krishna actually starts this chapter itself to address, Arjuna as Kaunteya, whose intellect is sharp as a knife, or Kunta, so that he remains sharp and alert throughout this next 6 chapters. So everything that we have learned so far, you will see is, how this one. So Tvam, which is Jiva, is what, was highlighted in this first 6 chapters. The second topic, the nature of Jiva, we learned that. And then the second topic, which we learned in the first 6 chapters, is about Karma Yoga. And through Karma Yoga, we really try to understand what is adharma, what is dharma and adharma and everything. And from there on, we also learned that ultimately everything is in my own hands. There is no such thing as, okay, Ishvara is there to help me out. But then Krishna wants to point out that everything that I'm going through my life, some of them is predetermined. This is again, a lot of people will say, how do you know that there is reincarnation? How do you know that you were really somebody else in your previous lives? All we have to do is, and this is the beauty of Indian knowledge systems, in Indian knowledge systems, I don't have to prove everything through a microscope or anything it is not about seeing is believing. That is not what our scriptures and all, we talk about ourselves not as this physical gross matter, as how, we science is kind of making us to be, but we are actually a lot more than that. We are the subtle being, and this subtle being aspect of it can be understood only when we look at the diversity in the thought. It's not just the physical step, some of us are short, some of us are tall, some of us are round, some of us, all this, those are all just physical aspects. And even just physical aspects, we tend to lose many of our energy, our nice matter energy, in wasting looking at the gross aspect. But in the Indian knowledge systems, we are looking at even beyond that, at the subtle aspects. So Krishna wants to really point out that we are our life is a continuum, just like how I take, Vasamsi Jirnani Yatha Vihaya, second chapter, and all that, it's not as if, just like I take my clothes, I change my clothes in a day, different things to suit the occasion, or I change my clothes over a period of time. I was wearing diapers and now of clothes, and then, saris, and after that, going back to 90s, whatever, after 95, you can't. So just like that, all these physical koshas are only things that I'm taking one at a time. And that is what Krishna is trying to say, that as you're taking up all these physical garments and you're trying to fulfill your duties in each one of them, remember that we have a way to change our own life. And that is where Bhagavad Gita comes in, is that Bhagavad Gita is a way for us to remind ourselves that I have a journey, and this journey can be cut short completely when I totally understand that my true nature is the nature everywhere, that I'm not this individual self. And therefore, Krishna says that no, I have to do my prarabdha is what I come up with, but ultimately, I have to work on my upliftment, which is what this sixth chapter, fifth shloka, Uddhiridatmanatmanam Atmanam Avasadiyet, Atmaiva Hyatmano Bandhuhu, Atmaiva Ripuratmanaha. So this is basically at the end of the sixth chapter we started with. Then in the next six chapters, which is about Ishvara, Krishna focuses on three other important topics. He actually talks about the nature of Ishvara, which is the 7th through 12th chapters, Ishvara, and then the second topic is about meditation upon Ishvara, because this is very important too, right? It's not enough if I just describe everything. I need to start upon my reflection. I need to start about my dhyanam. Earlier in the sixth chapter, Dhyana Yoga was about focusing on that Atman, if you will. Who am I? I'm not the Sunitha, but I'm that Atman. But now I'm looking at the entire world not as a physical body like the book and the pen and the thing, but in and through, I'm actually taking this book and I'm saying, okay, book, you're not the book, you're Ishvara. Okay, I'm taking this thing, you're not the cup, you are Ishvara. Looking at people and saying that, okay, you're not this person, you're Ishvara. Looking at Grand Canyon, saying you are Ishvara. So that is what is the upasana or meditation upon Ishvara. This is why the 10th chapter and everything was brought about. And the 11th chapter, which was about Vishwarupa Darshanam, meditation upon the Lord. In fact, that entire, I'm just picking out one of the shlokas from the 11th chapter, Aneka Vaktra Nayanam, Aneka Bhuta Darshanam, Aneka Divya Bharanam, Divya Neko, uh, Divya Neko Dhyadhyudam, So he's trying to show that all this, is this, and Ishvara is always there. But I have to, the last thing is, the third thing is all about Ishvara Anugraha, that even though Ishvara is everywhere, I need to tap into that Ishvara, into this. Like, for example, electricity. Electricity is everywhere, but how can I really get into electricity? It's only by tapping into electricity in the form of a bulb, tapping into electricity in the form of the refrigerator, tapping electricity into this. So I need to tap into that Ishvara's grace for myself. I need to understand that. So this is all up to the sixth chapter. And then finally, in this six chapters that we are coming, we are now going to establish that oneness of the Jiva, in which we saw the Tvam, to the Ishvara, which is this one. So Asi is essentially trying to bring about the essential oneness of Jiva Swarupam and Ishvara, which is called as the Asi Padartha. So, and if I basically rearrange the Tattvam Asi, I'm basically saying Tvam Tat Asi. Okay. So this is what we are coming to be establishing in this whole thing. Okay, in the 6 chapters. So next week, we will go and look at some examples which would be necessary for us, and starting with this example itself. So I have a few things, and before we enter into the chapter itself, so basically that whole thing of Tvam, Tat Asi, we will start to basically understand this essential oneness with this chapter, with this example, and then some more examples itself. Okay, so I had prepared some more, but we'll do that. So there's quite a bit I had prepared for today, but sorry, I took a little bit of time to, and this is why the Kshetram example I wanted to spend quite a bit. And so we'll do up to my the next week, we'll address all that. Okay. सर्वे भवन्तु सुखिनः, सर्वे सन्तु निरामयाः, सर्वे भद्राणि पश्यन्तु, मा कश्चित् दुःखभाग् भवेत्. ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः. ॐ पूर्णमदः पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते, पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते. ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः. हरिः ॐ श्री गुरुभ्यो नमः. हरिः ॐ.